All right, it is time now once again for the Dawn and Eli Take on the World podcast. My name is Elias Melas, but you can call me Eli for short. And once again, who is this lovely lady to my right?
Well, I'm your beautiful girlfriend, Dawn Ledgerwood.
That's right. We have to emphasize that you are my beautiful girlfriend, very beautiful, extremely beautiful, wonderful, amazing girlfriend, Dawn Ledgerwood. After 3.5 years, you're allowed to overdo it and blow smoke up your own girlfriend's ass, right?
I guess. If that makes you sleep better at night.
If that allows me to sleep better right now. I've been saying that a lot lately, baby,
right?
To a lot of people because people like to talk shit about things that aren't true. And, I tell them if it allows them to sleep better at night to think that what they're saying about me is true, then whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever. All right. We have a great show here today, and we also have two very special guests waiting backstage on the StreamYard. But before we get to our very special guests, babe, how's it going? How's it been the last week or so?
Oh, last week, it's been a great week. We've had some great weather. I went for a Walking with Purpose with Eli for our 1000th episode of Walking with Purpose. And that was exciting. It was my first walk with him. And it went so well. I felt great. I was even out walking this man here. And he was shocked. He was really shocked at how well I did. We wound up doing 4 laps.
3 laps.
Oh, 3 laps. I'm so sorry.
You had committed to 2 laps. And I was ready to call it after 2 laps. But you said, no, we're going 3 laps.
Yeah, we did.
That's exactly how you said it. And we were live on the air, and the replay's still available. So
yeah, I was like, no, we're doing it.
You said, no, we're going 3 laps. When your lady says, no, we're going 3 laps, we're fucking going 3 laps. For Christ's sake.
Right?
Yeah, sorry, don't want to use the Lord's name in vain. Anyway, go ahead.
No, so yeah, great day. Had a few appointments, nothing serious. And just kind of low key. Stayed home, watched some great shows. Great movies, and spent time with Eli and my fantastic dogs, Bochi and Buster. Got to give them a shout out.
Shout out to Bochi and Buster, our dogs that are in here in the studio with us, and hopefully they'll remain as calm as they are right now, right, baby?
Oh yeah, I think we got them calm. I think they should be okay.
Okay, yeah, we'll see. You mentioned episode number 1000. We actually did that last week. On our YouTube channel. Just in case you're listening to this on the audio-only version throughout the entire podcast network, which is Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, your very favorite, babe. iHeartRadio, and the rest of them. There are many more. The way that you can connect with us and watch this podcast video style is by going below that description section and clicking on the YouTube link. That'll take you to the main channel, GNA, Genuine Personal Development, where you will see, this live stream. Not live stream. It's not a live stream. I'm used to live streaming. Where you will see this podcast video style. If you go below in that description, there's a link at the very top of the description to our secondary channel, our live streaming channel, GNA2, Genuine Live Personal Development. And if you go there, you'll have access to all of our Walking with Purpose streams, including episode number 1000 that I did with my girlfriend, Dawn. And you can see that we did have a few audio issues throughout the show, but we've corrected that. So the next time we do a live stream together on YouTube on GNA2, Genuine Live Personal Development, it'll be much better. But yeah, you wanted to do 2 laps initially, and then after we got going, and you felt great after 2 laps, we went a 3rd lap because you said we're going 3 laps.
Yep, and we did it. Yeah.
Give
me a high five.
High five to that. Double high five. Absolutely. So before we get to the ladies here, there's some other stuff transpiring around the GNA, but we're going to save that for another time. Lots of things going on, but we really want to get to the topic here today. But before we do that, babe, I've got to say that you look lovely today.
Oh, thank you, babe.
And
Thank you. You don't have to say
I
that.
look lovely too. I'm gonna toot my own horn.
Oh, you look extremely handsome.
Thank you. You know, I did my beard today. I'm 51 years old. Just for men, I think I did a very good job. Virtually no gray. Eliminates all gray, right?
Yeah. No, it looks pretty hot.
Yeah, I was beginning to look like a grizzly bear, so.
Yeah, a little bit.
I hadn't done it in a while. I shaved my beautiful bald head. It's nice and silky smooth, and I did the beard. And I'm actually pretty proud of my own work. I mean, if I were to go to a barber shop and have this done, it would be like probably closer to $100 today.
Oh, absolutely.
So Just for Men, you get a 3-pack of Just for Men. Each pack has 3 applications, 9 applications for around $30. That's not bad compared to one time at the barber shop for like $100, right?
Or the cost of my hair dye per bottle. What do you spend per bottle of mine?
Yours is around like $12 or something.
$12 for one bottle.
And for you to get that done, it'd be well over $100, $150 between trimming the hair and coloring the hair.
You're looking more at like two
bills.
2 bills.
Yeah.
Two bills. And then imagine if I had like highlights.
Yeah.
Instead of just a full color.
Right.
That's even more. I mean,
more.
It's getting ridiculous.
You're
out
telling
there,
me
ladies.
my aunt Lisa, who you've met, Melas, who you've met, is a semi-retired licensed cosmetologist of over 50 years. And I say semi-retired because the building that she used to run her business out of, she still owns the building, but she's leasing the building and the business out to somebody else. And she still does some haircuts at home, even though she's in her mid-80s.
Yeah, she still has her cosmetology license up to date. Everything she's done, any kind of she got really beyond just haircuts and styling. She
was doing electrolysis and microcurrent, meaning that electronic or what do you call it? Hair removal. Sorry, permanent hair removal, not electronic, permanent hair removal. And it's not good.
It's laser.
Yeah, it's not good for women to have a mustache, right, baby?
No.
Right.
No. We use wax, though.
Yeah.
But if we are rich, we'll get rid of it forever.
You get the electrolysis or the microcurrent. You go to the cosmetologist and then you get it permanently removed.
Yeah.
It's almost like having surgery on your face.
Yeah, but it's really nice when you have an aunt in your family that can do it.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's very nice. Aunt Lisa is phenomenal. We love Aunt Lisa. Anyway, so we have a very serious topic to discuss today. It's a great topic. And episode number 7 of the Don and Eli Take on the World podcast. The title is Parents Using Their Children for Profit Online. One more time, babe. Parents using their children for profit online. Instead of us just getting right into it, let's go ahead and bring on the ladies. We have our 2 GNA executives, our 2 other GNA executives waiting backstage on the StreamYard. I'm Elias, Melas, the president and founder of the GNA. Don is the vice president, director of operations. And then we also have Sandra Palacio and Tia. Sandra's the director of public relations, the PR director. Losing my verbiage. And Tia's the director of special events. So please welcome to the show, Sandra Palacio and Tia. Welcome, ladies. We're going to give you a big round of applause. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Hi, Eli. Hi, Dawn.
Hi, guys.
Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi, hello.
Wonderful. So we have to be like an orchestra director here, because when you have 4 people on the show, especially 2 of them that are remotely joining us, we'll talk over each other. So we're going to just go round robin. Let's go ahead and first start off with Sandra Palacio. How are you doing, Sandra? How's it been going for you lately? Anything new? And yeah.
Nothing new. Everything good. Everything's good here. Living life. It's hot as heck down here in the south. Very humid. Um, I'm getting doing some gardening. I actually bought some plants and some flowers and started to grow some of my seeds and bought some jalapeno peppers and some squash and some bell peppers, and I have a herb garden growing. So I'm just going to start today, later after here. I'm going to go and replant them all and water and place them somewhere else. They're just kind of like budding, so I'm placing them
Yeah.
around the backyard.
Oh, that sounds nice. And it
Oh
should
yeah,
be a little cooler then, right?
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's why
that's
I'm
Mm.
good.
doing it later. I couldn't do it this morning. I was such a hurry doing stuff. So went to had to go to church, and I do Bible study for the kids, so I had to prepare for that. A double prepare actually, because my the one lady too that she does the teenagers, she uh, had a medical issue, so I had to prepare for them too. So took me a
Mm.
while. So now today I'm free after y'all, and then I'm going to do my gardening.
It's
Wonderful.
been a busy week for you, huh, Sandra?
It has been a busy week. I've been getting a lot of stuff done though. Uh,
Hmm.
I had a little mishap in I had a deer fly out in front of me and do
Oh.
stuff to my car. So I had to get all that taken care of. I'm okay. I'm glad it did not go through the windshield. Had it done
Hmm.
that, I think I'd have really been hurt. So anyway, trying
Wow.
to get all that stuff done. So yes, it was a busy week and it was kind of traumatized. I'm traumatized and everything, but
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Right?
Oh
Everything's
yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. No more deers in your future, right? Let's
Ooh, I
hope.
tell you the audacity. Well, let me tell you the audacity. Like when my brother-in-law says, "Oh man, you mean you didn't see the deer?" Well, no, because I was merging onto the traffic, and the deer, it was like try to jump over my car, and then there was this little. If you look at the video, there's a little part on the left-hand side, and it's clear. There's nothing there. And that little shit had the audacity to look me in the eye, actually turn his head and look me. We were eye to eye just for that
Wow.
split second.
That's
And then
scary.
he left. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah. So I
Talk about
thought
a
that
hit
was
and
kind of,
run.
Yeah.
or
Deers
who
are.
someone said that the deer, what is it? Headlight, headlights or something with the deer.
Oh,
That
a
damn
deer in
thing
the
looked at
headlights.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
looked at me like, really? Oh Lord, there he went. Big, it was pretty big. Did a lot of damage again to trying to get off the car and on the hood, and you could see the
Yeah.
the hoof marks and the dirt. And I even caught his hair in the top where the
Oh,
windshield was. So
oh wow.
it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, it was traumatizing. But anyway, I'm good. Everything's good. God's good. I'm getting a good amount of money for the car that they totaled. So that's where I'm at, and I'm good.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we're glad
Mhm.
that you're okay. Apparently, deers are allowed to hit and run. And yes, they do have that deer in headlights effect, especially at night. That's the only way you can really see them at night is you have to look for those reflective eyes. But Sandra, we are so glad that you're okay, and
Yeah, thank you.
appreciate you sharing that story. She brought that out on her own free
Yeah.
will. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I can't get blamed for instigating stuff. I've learned how to keep my mouth shut unless other people open their own mouths regarding their own lives, right?
Right.
You
Right.
did
Yeah.
good, Eli. You did good.
I did good. I'm learning. I'm learning.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Sandra. Let's get to Tia. Tia, welcome to the show. How has your week gone? How have things been going for you? Also since we last had you on, I think you were on. Were they on the premiere episode? Was it the premiere episode? I think it was the very first episode that the
Yeah.
ladies were
I
on.
I
Yeah.
don't
I
remember,
think
but
so. It's been a while, yeah. But anyway, yeah, my week's has been good. Our weather finally is cooperating. It's um, been doing a lot of raking because we don't. Well, I should say I don't rake the leaves in the fall. I just leave them because by the time spring comes, there's hardly any, and it's good for the soil. So um, I've been doing a little yard work, and I have a wonderful neighbor that, since my husband passed, that's been helping me do some stuff. And of course, I got to hire some people. But that's kind of what I've been doing is getting the house ready for, summer, so it looks nice with some flowers. Kind of like you're talking, Sandra. It's that time of year. But we had so much rain, you couldn't do much. But it was a very productive week. I got caught up on a lot of mail that keeps coming. But yeah, it just, yeah, when you're alone, it's so much different. I never realized my husband taking out them damn dumpsters to the end of the driveway
Oh
every
yeah.
Sunday night. It's like, oh, I got to take them dumpsters out. You don't realize and I won't even say little things, all the
Mhm.
things that he did, that I
Oh,
have to do
yeah.
now. So, but it's going good. It's going good. And it was a really good week. It really, really was.
So
Awesome.
Tia, what you're saying is that men are still very useful in this crazy modern world we live in, right?
Of course. I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah,
feel so.
I'm joking. Come on,
I
Don.
definitely, definitely.
You know what? Actually, we need more men, like manly men out there.
We need real men to
Real
step it
men.
up and stop acting like big fucking pussies. Is what you're
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
Not the
right?
ones that
Right.
think
Like
they're
how
male.
many, well, yeah, because how many women aren't doing what men should do?
A
They'd rather,
lot.
and I'm not being biased, but you kind of wonder.
Mhm.
Well, let's think about how many single moms are out there and they've got to do everything. My very good
Yeah.
friend who I've talked about, she raised her daughter all by herself. So she was putting together furniture. She was painting. She was doing all that in her house and she didn't have a man, not one time. And, yeah, she had friends that would come over and mow her lawn, but she always paid them. But other than that,
Well,
she did everything. And that, you do become two parents with
Yeah.
two different
that's
responsibilities.
gotta be hard, being a single
Yeah.
mom and having to do all that. I just hired a single mother in her 20s, to help me because of some of the health issues I have. And I wanted to hire a single mother because she needs the money, and she had put the ad in, and I seen it, and she's like, I can cut lawn, I can do flowers, I can do this and that. So it was right up her alley, and she's excited, and I'm happy that I can help her.
Yeah. Well, that's
Wonderful.
nice.
That's great.
That is very noble. And we need more people like you, Tia, and you, Sandra, and Don as well. But in this case, that's a very nice thing Tia did to take into consideration that she's a single mother, and she probably needs the help more than most other people. I'm not saying other people don't need help, but single mothers seem to struggle more than most other aspects of life. Wouldn't you say, Don? You're a mother.
I am a mother. And, when I was raising my kids, everybody around me, we all had our kids and, life was good. And I forgot the point I was getting at. What was it? Oh, about raising kids and
Well, we're talking about that being a single mother is one of the most difficult things, and
that's what I was trying to say. Is I was never.
that's why Tia prioritized, hiring a single mother to get the help she needs than anyone else that may be struggling regarding
Yeah.
something else.
My
Yeah.
point was I was never a single mother. So I had my ex-husband who wasn't very handy, but
That
he could
sucks.
take the garbage out and he could mow the lawn, but we had to call anybody to fix anything. And
Mhm.
growing up, my mom and dad, My dad fixed everything in the house. Same with your
Mhm.
dad, right?
And I take care of everything at the house now. It's like whether it's like electrical or plumbing or whatever, squeaky hinges on the door, WD-40 or whatever, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
that
men
actually,
should have at least some handy skills, right?
yeah, that worked out really well because your mom lost your father 16 years ago, and she had to pretty much be the independent person, be the man and the woman. And it's great that she has two sons local that can come and help her at any
Yeah.
time. And so she is fortunate because some women, when their spouses pass away, they feel lost. You know, they don't, there's things that their spouse did that they didn't. So yeah, it can be a very complicated, stressful event.
I think
Absolutely.
that's a good
Absolutely.
idea.
Right.
I think that's why I think it's great that you're as close as you are there, Eli, because this way you're right there, you know.
Yeah.
And I know your brother is nearby, but you're right there, and I think it's
Yeah.
comforting for her and
Yeah.
comforting
Yeah.
for you to know to know that you are right there. So that's a
Yeah.
very
No,
important thing.
no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it is.
Absolutely. Um, well, let's go ahead and segue into the topic here because we've got a lot to go over, and we're going to try to limit this show to 2 hours max. Don's thinking we're going to go longer, but 2 hours will be good. So the topic of episode number 7 of the Don and Eli Take on the World podcast, once again, is parents using their children for profit online. Let me first ask you, Don, over here to my right. Um, what does that mean to you, like, and how do you feel about that?
Well, based on your title, it it just screams exploitation,
Mm-hmm.
what the title is saying. And my thoughts on that are that it's disgusting. Being a mother, I would have never thought to exploit my children for money. My daughter, in fact, she was on a soccer team and they were going to do a commercial. And so these people came out, watched the soccer team play. They picked my daughter and she was in a commercial, and she could have chosen to go and do more commercials
Mm-hmm.
and make more money, or she could be a kid. And I did not push her. I gave her the choice, and she said, "Mom, I just want to be a kid with my friends and play soccer and go to school." And I said, "Alrighty, girl, let's do that."
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what a supportive parent would do. Not look at that as a, dollar sign and financial security.
Right. Now, before we get to the ladies here, we'll go to Sandra next and then Tia. We have a couple of stories we're going to give our feedback on. Both of these stories involve mothers, women exploiting their children on YouTube specifically. That seems to be the platform where everybody exploits everything, right? YouTube, that's a
Hmm.
whole other story, but it ties in perfectly to this topic as well. But let me ask you first, Don, and then we'll get Sandra's opinion and then Tia's opinion, and then I'll share what I think it is. But why do you feel these two mothers particularly, and we're gonna read some of their story here and show it on the screen a little bit. There was Ruby Franke, who basically was doing a family vlog with her family. And then there's another one, and that was on Hulu, the Ruby Franke documentary. And then on Netflix, we have this lady named Tiffany Smith, who basically, was exploiting her daughter, Piper Raquel. And then they got involved with more of her friends, and we'll get more into that story in a bit. Why do you think these women or anyone else, whether they're male or female, would exploit their children for money on YouTube, for example? And I know both men and women can do it. I'm sure maybe there's been a few men here or there that have tried to do it, but it seems to be that it's the mothers, the women, that are exploiting their kids online. Yeah, I really haven't heard any stories of men doing it, right?
Well, it all is what you would think exploitation is. Some would maybe even think that a father with their sons might be pushing them on sports and having them try to get all the trophies, be the winner of everything, because that's dad's passion and he didn't do it. So he's pushing it on his son. And that could be the same, I say it is, about pageant moms or dance moms, because they're living their life through their kid.
Mm-hmm.
And once they see that kid is capable and is willing, they're going to ride that out as long as that dollar train is going.
Okay, now stop there for a second. You mentioned sports, right?
Yeah.
And sports have always been a part of pretty much every academic program from grammar school to high school to college, right? And one of the stipulations to be able to play sports is you have to have your GPA, I believe, at 3.0 or higher. So here's the difference, in my opinion, with a father pushing his kids to play sports. Now, still, they shouldn't overdo it. But even if they're slightly pushing their kids to play sports and motivating them and inspiring them, they're still getting the education and they're being held accountable to hold a certain GPA in order to qualify to play sports. I see that as a big difference compared to mothers or fathers, in this case, more so mothers, exploiting their kids on YouTube for money at the expense of them even getting an education. Like a lot of these kids were working 13-hour days in that Tiffany story, and they were lacking their education. Go ahead.
Okay, so then I say, what about those fathers that wake their sons up at 5 a.m., have them do a practice, then go to school for 6 hours, and then practice another 6 hours after school?
That's too much.
That's too much. And those fathers are out there. That's why I'm saying it's not just moms. Moms are the majority. I would say that they're like 80% almost. And then fathers are like 20%.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it more in the sports industry than I do
I agree.
anywhere else with fathers.
I agree with you there. We're going to Sandra in just one second, but babe, I agree with you. I feel that anything that's excessive or excessively pushed by one parent or the other, even in sports where it's part of the academia, right? Is that what they call it? The academia?
Yeah.
Anything that's pushed beyond a reasonable, normal level is wrong. I'm just seeing a lot more wrong with what these moms are doing, exploiting their kids online. And it comes at the expense of them even having an education or not even having enough energy to go to school. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They're taking away these kids' childhood and their ability to really excel, academically.
Right.
They don't even have the time or, energy or even thought process to figure out what their passion and their purpose
Let alone
is.
wanting to be a kid, just like your daughter wanted to just be a kid, play with her friends when she wasn't going to school, right?
Well, yeah, because she saw how much work that it took to do that.
Right.
After school.
And her
and
energy.
then fitting in soccer practice and fitting in homework and trying to get a decent meal, in these kids and not just running through the drive-through. It's a lot.
She didn't want to overwhelm herself,
Yeah.
and she knew that it was going to basically exude too much energy and not leave enough energy for just being a kid.
Yeah. And I mean, we joked and said that she was lazy about it, but no, she just wanted to be, I think she was 10, a 10-year-old girl at the time.
Sounds
That's
like
it.
she's always been very smart, like her mother, huh?
Yes, she is very smart.
Yeah.
She literally is really a lot like me, like my twin.
And it all the like they say, the apple doesn't fall from the trees, right? From your mother to you to your daughter. But we're not going to, let's stop there.
Oh, no, it's cool.
Oh, okay.
It's the truth, you
Right,
know.
right. I didn't want to get much further into it because
It's fine.
that's all we have.
We have other things to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. So let's go to Sandra Palacio and ask Sandra. So, what are your thoughts about what we've been saying? Why are the mothers doing this?
Well, money, 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 money,
Yeah.
money. I think they get a taste of that. And I'm just going to be blunt, that and power.
hmm
And
Yes.
you have an asset and you're using the asset. You don't care who and how you use it. I think
And
that's a
who it
big thing.
hurts.
It's kind of an ego as well. You have a daughter. Okay, here you have a daughter. You see your daughter does a video, two videos, and gets hits. Right? I mean,
hmm
people that are in YouTube can understand how important a hit is, how important the
It's addicting.
followers are, because it is. And with that come other things. When you start getting excuse me, when you start getting higher, ad revenues,
hmm
sponsorships, that kind of stuff. And it grows and it grows and it grows. And it's a shame because, like Dawn was saying, your daughter was like, no, mom, I just want to do this, where the
Mm,
parent can see this, how lucrative it could be and go and push. But you know what? Looks and cuteness only last for so long. Okay.
yeah.
She's cute. She was a cute kid. I'm talking about um, uh, Piper, for instance, in this
Yes.
one. She cute little thing,
hmm
and she's
hmm
sparky and everything else. I mean, she could probably be a sparky teenager, but come 20, she ain't gonna be too sparky, you know.
No.
So it's a short-lived kind of a thing, and maybe that's why the push is to take advantage of what you can at that moment and go with it, and don't let it die down. Now, a lot of this stuff though bleeds into so many things. Like we talked about the sports stuff, it bleeds in there too. I do say that the moms do have a lot to do with the daughters. I hate to say, I like to say that word, exploiting them, but using them
hmm
for content. Because look at your like John Bonet. Look at your what is it, those
Mhm.
contests where these little girls are like start at what, 3 and 4, and they look like they're
The beauty
15
pageants,
and 20 years
the
old.
child beauty
The
pageants, right?
beauty
Yeah.
pageant. And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
grows the money they spend, for what? You could be spending, I mean, literally these people say they spend thousands of dollars where they got to travel,
Mhm.
they get people to work with them, they pay for these expensive costumes and stuff. But for what? You might win a big prize and you don't. But they keep sending them. So what is it? Notoriety, power, and then what these kids now, especially things are different than John Bonet days, where now you can put your, if her mother it was now, they would be putting her all over social media.
hmm
So it is a little different now. But the kid thing, the thing with the boys, Don makes a good point, and I truly believe that because I've been in those fields and I've seen it, where the dad's
Mhm.
pushing and pushing, and sometimes the kid wants it too. I love when I see a dad. I have a playground by where I live, and I see the dads working with their kids baseball. Pitching,
Mhm.
balls and balls and pitching, and the kid wants to do it. It's fine. But
Mhm.
sometimes I have seen kids. I went to a wrestling match. My nephew wrestles, and I could see some of these kids felt like they didn't even want to be there. But I'm not, you know what I'm saying? So you have to have that love too, instead of the push person, the dad always
Yep.
pushing, pushing, pushing. If even if
Mhm.
the kid's good, or even if he's good, if he don't want to play freaking baseball, you can't make them play baseball, even though,
Yeah.
I see that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think in the dad, I think Dawn, you have that point. I think it does go into sports. I think it's sad though, like in looking at that Netflix, and I know you're going to get to that movie in a little bit. In looking at
hmm
some of that, it really saddened me because when you're at that age, a kid, they like the attention. They
Right.
do.
Yeah.
They like the
Mhm.
attention, and then they get a lot of friends and this kind of stuff. And the way this girl's life with people coming in, people coming out, because of the parents fight or whatever, that's devastating on her. These kids worried about her because this girl too didn't really want to do it anymore. She was tired. She wasn't even going to
Mm-hmm.
school. They kept her
Yeah.
out of school. So now you're talking
Yep.
about laws. And again, this is a big subject. It bleeds, and I know I'm going all over, but it bleeds into so much. I was doing research after I watched the show. I was doing some this afternoon, and I was like, wow, it is so out there. And this big thing with this happening now because of the COVID, where all these kids had nothing to do. So it kind of
Yeah.
was like the big spike, the
Mm-hmm.
big spike
That's right.
now
Yeah.
and
That's right.
money. And then I kept thinking, okay, where's this money going? And then it led to other things that I started reading. So again, it bleeds. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm just trying to say that this is a really big thing. It's like that. I always go down rabbit holes. Y'all know me. So I
Oh, yeah.
started going down
No.
that rabbit hole. I'm like, oh, hell. So I'm just going to stop there. So those are my thoughts so far on that.
Well, those are great thoughts,
Oh,
and
absolutely. Yeah.
Don and I will share our thoughts about what you and Tia both said once Tia is done. Thank you, Sandra. Tia, what are your thoughts?
Well, there are so many reasons people do or parents do this. I obviously money, and we've all said that. Um, One thing that I thought, you know, parents like that control, and one thing I thought of is, um, kids can be rebellious. They can get into trouble. They can go the wrong way. And like Sandra was saying, and Dawn, a parent pushing their kids and pushing their kids to do the right thing. And in my opinion, sometimes that can be the worst thing to do, because then they rebel and then they do go the wrong direction because they don't want to do what they're forced to be doing. And they end up in, either drugs or hanging out with negative people. Um, there's a, but I think besides the money, it's control and the competition. I think parents, maybe not even the kids,
Good point.
maybe at first. Oh, go ahead.
No, as I said, good point. Competition. Good point.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And I mean, they get like a high off that. We all know,
yeah.
like, dance moms, and
Mm-hmm.
it was, I mean, she became a real mean lady. And
Oh,
well,
horrible
we don't know
lady.
what she, yeah. And those kids were traumatized too. And um the kids become resentful. It's very negative. um
Mm-hmm.
and now, because YouTube, of course, or these different sites, it's all over. It's way more than I thought, until I watched some of these movies, that
Yeah.
it's an issue. It really is.
It's over. What you're saying,
And
Tia, is it's overly commercialized.
oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But pretty
Anything
much
else you?
that's my thoughts. I mean, that's about it. You guys covered a lot too.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your thoughts there. Now, let me share my thoughts, and then Don, you can share your thoughts on what the lady said. I'm gonna kind of sum all that up for myself. I totally agree with what all three of you ladies have said. Um, I don't think the problem is the fact that these parents, more so it seems to be the mom doing this than the dad when it comes to YouTube stuff and the vlogging. I don't think there's a problem doing a family vlog and having your kids in it. But if you're doing it too often, and if it's taking all day, every day to create daily videos with these kids, you're taking away from their schooling. You're taking away from them being able to play with other kids. You're taking away from sports. You're taking away from exercise regarding their health and all of that. And it's, in my opinion, I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist, but it's going to definitely affect their mental health. And in one of these cases, the one with the what's her name, Tiffany Smith, she was sued for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Speaking of a subject that I've had to deal with, but that's another story, different situation. But I agree, and I know Sandra, you mentioned something regarding this. So did Don. Tia, you were very clear about these women do it for the money and the fame. I think it's more so for the fame. Yes. Do they want the money? Do they need the money? Yeah. What mother wouldn't want to help the father provide, a better life for their kids? Nothing wrong with that. But I think what happens to these women more so than what would happen to men in this situation is it gets to their head, because mamas have the mama bear effect, right, babe?
Oh yeah,
Mama
definitely.
bears. Mamas are mama bears to their kids, and they want their kids to be better than anyone else's kids, and they want all the fame and glory to go to their kids. Now, listen, if you're reasonable people, you're not going to be like that and be competitive like that, even though it kind of is that way. It really shouldn't be. But I think some of these mothers let it get to their head that, okay, my kid is the star of this show, just like when we get to the Netflix one. Tiffany Smith had her daughter Piper Raquel, and she was a very smart and a beautiful young lady, and she was able to speak, and she had charisma, and I believe she still does nowadays. And her mother was proud of that, and initially started off as something innocent, but then as it grew and the money was coming in, and they bought that big house, and they had all these expenses. And then they had these people move in, these families move in with their kids to do these videos every day. What this Tiffany Smith woman did, forcing people to work these long hours and wanting things done exactly the way that she wants it done, or else, I just think she took it way too far. She got caught up in the excitement. Yes, the money was there. But I think it was more so about the fame and wanting to be on top and not losing the virality that she had gained. Once you go viral, the last thing you want to do is go viral and then lose your virality, because then people say, okay, well, you went viral, but now you're
one hit wonder.
Yeah, now you're done. Right now you're a has-been or yesterday's news. That's going to happen to everyone. Whoever ends up going viral, who knows? Maybe we'll go viral one day. That would be nice. But even if we were to go viral and then we lost the virality, we would still have some people left over, and maybe we wouldn't make as much money as we did going viral, but we would have a consistent, steady income with a regular audience. I think some of these mothers wanted to be at the very top all the time and never let it go. And they didn't want to accept the fact that, hey, everything has a limited shelf life, especially when you're creating content online, right? What are your thoughts about what I said, Dawn, and what the lady said?
Well, I want to go back and agree with you about the mama bear. And yes, I'm a mama bear.
Of course you are.
And of course, did I want my kid to be the best on the team? Yes. But I didn't push for it, and I did not make my kid work harder for my benefit. So, as far as that, and you're saying you want your kids to be the best and you want to be known as the best mom. And we have like these two ladies. We have another program we're watching, kind of the same, not really the same thing, but she's also a guru of motherhood and how to get through things there with children with a special. Well, she says we're not allowed to say special needs. It's a disability.
Okay.
So that's what she said, because every child is special. So,
Oh,
but
God.
yeah, but like her story doesn't go as far as this, but I could see, how all these mothers, they're trying to start something good and actually help people, and in doing
Yeah.
so, it just becomes this toxic cesspool of energy, and it's just like when you've got the devil and the angel. Well, at that point, that devil is a lot
It
bigger
gets
on
to
your
their
shoulder.
head and their ego. I believe Sandra and Tia were saying this. It gets to their head and their ego because what I forgot to mention was that, in the modern world, women have a purpose beyond just being a homemaker and a housewife and a baby, maker, right? Baby making machine, right? No disrespect intended with that.
Mhm.
But women have the right to have a purpose beyond that, and they want to have a purpose beyond that. And when this falls into their lap, virality on YouTube, they go with it and they look at it as, okay, I now have a purpose. I'm a successful businesswoman. It's not just about men and all that. I'm a mother and I can do it. And do you understand that?
Yeah, I also want to
Yeah.
interrupt you and say,
Yeah.
it's about feeling needed. Moms always need to feel like their children need that. And so when they get that, they're thinking, oh my gosh, we gotta film right now because our audience is waiting for another clip to come out or another
video. Yeah, another video.
something.
Yeah.
And so that's where, I don't know. It's like, there's a line that gets crossed very, very far past that line.
Yeah.
If you understand. But yeah, I was going to agree with everything you said. And I wanted to just point out that mama bear, and yes, we as mothers want to be the favorite mom where everybody goes to your house because you're the cool mom in the block. Yeah, we all want to be the cool house, but you can do that and still set boundaries and hold children responsible and not exploit them.
Good points. Good points. Sandra, did you want to respond to anything before we move on? I think you were jumping in there a second ago.
I was just going, but I think control, power, and ego.
Yeah.
To wrap it up with that, I have to do the power thing in there, because after a while, it's like anything. When people even get to the top, where like they ask, don't forget where you came from, right? How many times have we
Right.
heard that with people? Don't forget where you came from, because and then well, and it's like over the top. So it's like once you hit a certain part, there goes the ego, there goes everything, even your ethics sometimes. In this
Yeah.
case, it was even her ethics, really, her morality, even, because it was, which we'll talk about later, about other stuff that transpired. I mean, all that went out the window, and you got to think, my gosh, she was doing things to these other kids or putting them in positions. Yeah, her daughter too, but everybody else. After I was seeing it, it was more so the people around as well. It was just very, very interesting. So I think you get to that point, you get that high, and then it's like, vroom, all the way up, and there
Yeah.
goes everything. You lose that, you lose your, again, I have to say, your sense of ethics and morality at times, and especially
Yep.
in this case. And I'm talking about the Netflix one,
Yep.
the Piper one. So that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like the Piper one on Netflix was worse than the Ruby Franke one, and Ruby Franke went to jail, and I believe she's still in jail. And then Piper's mother, Tiffany Smith, never went to jail, just had to settle a $1.85 million intentional infliction of emotional distress lawsuit against all the other moms. And I think there was like 8 of them, and they all got less than $200K
11.
a piece. Sorry, 11 of them. They all got less than $200,000 a piece, like 150 something or whatever. Not even worth it. But
out of the millions that they made,
out of the millions that they made, and they've reinvested, and yeah, Tia, anything else before we move forward?
Not really. The only thing I would say is some others might feel it gives them a self-worth. And I believe it becomes an addiction for them. And that's like what Sandra said, it gives them a high, it all ties in with what we all said, Yeah. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, wonderful. Dawn needs to step away for a few. She has to go use the restroom. Go ahead, Dawn.
All right.
And
continue.
We're going to continue without you because you've already heard the story. I'm going to go to the other screen here with the ladies. They're not going to be able to see it on their end, but this is an article from Forbes that is titled, "What Did Ruby Franke Do? The Crazy True Story Behind Hulu's Devil in the Family." Family vlogger Ruby Franke's arrest for child abuse in August 2023 became one of the most shocking scandals at the time. Once known for sharing her picture-perfect family life with millions of YouTube subscribers, the reality was far darker. The family placed their trust in counselor Jody Hildebrand, a therapist who lost her license and believed demons plagued them. Yeah, so ladies, this was a therapist that lost her license and started to do counseling. You don't really need a license for that. It's kind of like life coaching, right? And then Ruby Franke found out about her, started collaborating with her, and then they started to turn what Ruby Franke was creating with her family, an innocent blog, into something more commercialized, and all the stuff that happened, all the child abuse and everything that happened was really crazy. Do you ladies, Sandra, do you have anything you want to mention on that at this point, or you want me to continue before you mention anything?
No, you can go ahead.
So Hulu's new docuseries, Devil in the Family, The Fall of Ruby Franke, marks the first time the family's two eldest children, Sherry and Chad Franke, and Ruby's husband, Kevin, are sharing what happened on camera. In an interview with Vanity Fair, Kevin described the series as his chance to share his own story on his own words. All right, go ahead. Dawn is coming back, so I'm switching to a different screen real quick because she's wearing a dress, and I don't want the camera to see underneath. See, I'm a good producer. I'm a good producer on the fly too, huh, baby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, ladies. I'll probably take 2 more bathroom breaks.
Well, maybe one more. So we're going over the Ruby Franke story. One of the things that's been so frustrating for me has been feeling silenced or muzzled, not being able to speak, and having people make assumptions that just aren't accurate. Kevin said, the father. This is my ability to take control of my own story and speak it in my own words. The docuseries offers exclusive access to the Franke family, and so basically, let me read the other part here. In 2015, Ruby Franke, a Mormon mother of 6, launched the family YouTube channel 8 Passengers, sharing the daily lives of her children and husband Kevin. The channel quickly gained popularity, reaching nearly 3 million subscribers at its peak. At times, it brought in over $100,000 per month, allowing the family to move into a larger home, Kevin revealed in the documentary. So, I mean, at that point, the husband is on.
Yeah.
All right.
He's like, okay, this is
he's
cool.
on board. I mean, the husband is on board. The wife, wanted to start this family blog. He got on board, and they were making money, and it was very innocent. At that point, Don, normal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What about UT and Sandra? Normal at that point, right?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
were just
at
doing a
that
family
point.
thing, and they were both on at the same amount of time, right? So yeah,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. And Tia, same thing, probably, right?
Oh, yeah, in the beginning.
Okay. So let's continue here. However, concerns about Frankie's parenting methods soon emerged. In June 2020, her then 15-year-old son, Chad, revealed on camera that he had been sleeping on a beanbag chair in the basement for 7 months as punishment. Other footage showed her threatening to withhold meals and cut off the head of her child's teddy bear. In another video, she insisted on publicly sharing a mother-daughter conversation with Sherry about the teenager's first menstrual period.
Oh my God.
Now, let's go ahead and go to Dawn first and ask you, Dawn, what are your thoughts about that? We remember
Yeah.
that watching the documentary, but now we get to share our thoughts publicly on it with our entire GNA executive team here. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, yeah, like you said at first, it started innocent. But then to film a conversation between yourself and your daughter about something as private and personal and vulnerable
Yeah.
time in a young girl's life.
You're talking about getting her menstrual period for the first time. That's a private
and that
sanctuary.
is a very private thing.
Right.
I mean, you could share it with your girlfriends and, your mom or whatever and grandma, but it's not something you want the whole world, literally the whole world, to be a part of.
Unless her daughter was okay with it. Like, I mean, there could be a good aspect of, doing it in a way where
you're educating.
You want to teach other young ladies to not worry about it.
Yeah, educating,
an educational
and helping,
way, right?
But that wasn't what it was.
That wasn't. It was purely for exploitation, and she wanted to get clicks no matter what.
Yeah,
her intention was to exploit her kids. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's going too far. As far as the son sleeping on a beanbag, are you freaking kidding me? I could see it maybe one night not for punishment, but one night for like, I have a sleepover going on and we're all going to sleep on beanbags, That's something fun to do. But no, you don't use that as a punishment. And you never withhold food from your child.
Right.
That alone should put you in prison, in my, how I feel about that.
Well, that's where I believe she's still at today. Let's get to Sandra and ask Sandra what she has to say. Go ahead, Sandra.
So was she about the little girl in that situation? Because we know a lot of this stuff is scripted. It's scripted to the point of what they're going to talk about. So
Correct.
Eli, you mentioned that too. Like maybe this little girl was saying, "Okay, we could talk about it," or was it just on the fly? Because if it was just on the fly, that poor little thing probably didn't know what the hell to do.
No,
Can
it
you
was.
imagine the
I
reaction?
I think it was scripted, Sandra. But even if it was scripted, the little girl should feel comfortable and have some say on whether she wants to do it or not, right?
Well, of
it's
course.
one thing. Yeah, it's one thing if this kid is a child actor and they're doing, where the child is growing up and has a scene with the mother, but that's acting. When you're putting your child on that and she doesn't have, she doesn't even know what she's experiencing.
You're saying she forced her kids to do this.
Yeah, she forced her without her child even, first off, having the mental capacity to think this through for long term, and how it's going to affect her in the future, and I think these kids at first just really wanted to help their mom, and then it got too far. Their mom kept pushing that envelope.
Mm-hmm. They didn't want to end up in the beanbag in the basement, so.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not funny, but it's funny. I mean, she didn't want to. There's consequences, and people know the consequences, especially in this case now, all this stuff coming up, But my thing was, I'm not too familiar with this. So when you said she was collaborating, right, with this therapist about how to raise kids, am I correct?
No, they were collaborating as a business opportunity because Jody Hildebrandt used to be a licensed psychologist, and she lost her license and started doing counseling, which doesn't require a license, kind of like life coaching.
So was
And
she? Go ahead.
because Ruby Franke had a bigger presence on social media, and Jody Hildebrandt wasn't as big. Jody Hildebrandt saw this as an opportunity to leverage that, and Ruby Franke saw that Jody Hildebrandt is a counselor and former therapist, that could help her kids in different ways, and together they could work together and build something and make money at the same time as helping their kids. Yeah.
Yeah, and she looked at her as like a mentor almost, like
Right.
like she.
Well, I'm
she
sure
was
that
the
that
shit.
Hildebrandt, but was that girl telling him, yeah, put him in the basement and make him sleep on a little bag?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm kind of asking how the collab
Yeah.
was. So the therapist was telling her how to discipline her kids, or saying, well, you need to discipline the kids, and then psycho lady thought, okay, well, I'm just going to put them downstairs in a beanbag and not feed them. That's what I want to know, where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Was it coming from like a suggestion where that so-called counselor was saying, if he does this, you need to punish him, and then the other one was
Yes.
coming up with stuff.
Yes. So she was
she telling her that she put him down there and said, well, as punishment, I put my son down there in the cold damp to sleep on this beanbag and didn't feed him. And then the counselor comes in with, oh, that's fine. Is that how that worked?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hildebrandt was basically coaching Ruby Franke on how to discipline her kids throughout this whole ordeal that they collaborated to make money on.
And she even manipulated her way into Ruby's home.
Right.
To start helping Ruby discipline these children the right way.
And then Ruby, I believe, spent some time at Jody Hildebrandt's house as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah. And then they moved out to that place in the desert or something.
Yeah, that was Hildebrandt. She bought that nice place out there, like in the desert. It's a big house.
Looked like a compound to me.
Yeah, it looks like a imprisonment compound or something.
Yeah.
Or what do you call it? A slavery compound or something.
Well, that's where all the cults do. They move out to those kind of places. I mean,
yeah.
And it was in Utah.
Red flag.
Right.
Well, it was in Utah. Right? Isn't that where they cultivate cults?
That's just our opinion, everybody. That's just our opinion.
Yeah.
Just our opinion. Sorry to all the Utah people out there.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and anything else, Sandra, or should we go to Tia?
No, go to Tia.
So Tia, what are your thoughts so far? Pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah, I mean, what mother would just, this is supposed to be a family vlog that started as, right?
Yeah, it was a family vlog. It was very innocent. And then once Jody Hildebrandt got involved, the former licensed psychologist, and she was still a counselor, once, Ruby and Jody connected, everything changed.
Yeah.
Collaboration.
Dad. Then so the mothers were just mothers. The mother was just in control, and the dad said, okay, or am I going ahead of everything?
I think that's going to come up in that article that you were reading, right?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, right. I'm just going to say that it's really messed up. I think just go on reading, because it sounds kind of entailed, and I want to hear more before I can comment, because it's so much right now.
Well, we're building up to it.
Right,
you're gonna definitely hear it. So let's get back to that. All right. So, in 2020, Protective Services, so I guess it's Child Protective Services, visited the Franke home after receiving a complaint about Ruby's treatment of her children. I remember that morning very well. Franke told the Wrap in 2021. These officers, they were two ladies, said There had been several complaints about child abuse and child neglect. Could they come in and spend some time? After the visit, no charges were filed. Franke told the Wrap that CPS officers were so impressed with her parenting that they allegedly asked for child rearing tips before leaving.
Oh my God.
So she basically manipulated the female police officers
Oh,
to
God.
that's
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
wow,
That's
man.
insane.
If I was a cop,
I'd
like,
be embarrassed.
especially as a female cop being played by another female that's a parent, just like those cops are, I would be really pissed off. I
Right.
wouldn't be embarrassed. I'd be really pissed off. I'd want to go back to that house and give her a piece of my mind, but they can't do that. They're the cops, right? They got to follow the law. But wow. So she insisted that her cancellation stemmed from demonstrating, as I have done from day one, what a responsible mother looks like. Okay, let's continue here. How did Ruby Franke meet Jody Hildebrandt? The Frankes found counselor Jody Hildebrandt through a family friend. Hildebrandt was a fellow Mormon and founder of the counseling business Connections. She was brought in by the family to help Chad, but later began counseling Sherry and Kevin too. So yeah, she was used for her counseling services. I do remember that from the documentary. And then that's when the opportunity arose. So let's continue here, then we'll give you all a chance to respond. As Ruby became more devoted to Hildebrandt's methods, so Ruby Franke really liked Jody Hildebrandt's methods because she thought her kids, I guess apparently, were so messed up that, Jody was really getting through to fixing them. Kevin recalled in the docuseries that the children began to complain about filming videos, at one point saying they were losing their light. After Hildebrandt moved in, Kevin said he was invited to leave the house. Believing he was the root of an unspoken family problem, he continued attending Hildebrandt's online men's group counseling sessions and cut off all communication with his wife and children. So Hildebrandt was running some paid online groups, making money that way, and nothing wrong doing that as long as you're doing it legitimately and you're not trying to exploit anything or create child abuse doing it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty common sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dawn?
No.
Sandra,
To me it
Tia?
is.
So the father left. Is that what I'm gathering? So the father left?
Not at this point. Not at this point.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. Okay, I misunderstood what you read then. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, at this point, nothing was mentioned. I don't think he's around anymore now, but at this point, I think he was still around. This is back, I believe, in 2021. Let's continue, and then we'll see what this article says here. Let's see. All right. Ruby started training as a coach with Connections. And so she became a coach with Jody to basically further, help Jody run her business and, teach Jody's methods. And she and Hildebrandt also ran an Instagram account called Moms of Truth. Meanwhile, Sherry began researching Hildebrandt online and discovered that the counselor had lost her therapy license and had been the subject of numerous complaints from former patients. Still, her mother brushed off her concerns according to time. So, at this point, they started to do background checks. This is where a background check is warranted. Anyone will run a background check here and see, okay, what's the backstory on Hildebrandt, right? Fair statement, right, Dawn?
Oh, well, yeah, when you have somebody coming in that is too good to be true, you definitely want to do a background check on them because you want to see why they've been too good to be true,
Right.
Make sure it is who they say they are,
Right. Sandra?
Yes.
Yeah, what are your thoughts about that? You agree?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was pretty simple. All right, let's get to Tia. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Okay. All right. Let's continue here. All right. So Kevin told filmmakers that Jody would go into possessed trances and would start speaking in other voices. So Ruby began sleeping in the same room as Jody out of concern. One day, when Sherry was home from college, she walked into her old bedroom, which Ruby and Jody shared, and found massage oils and candles everywhere. It was much more than a friendship, Kevin said in the docuseries, much more than a sisterhood. It was uncomfortably intimate. I guess they were having a lesbian relationship, cheating on her husband. Yeah, that's wow. I mean, wow.
Well, what I mean, as a man, Eli, how would you feel as a man walking in and seeing your wife, with another woman like that?
I
Yeah.
wouldn't feel really good about it. I mean, I pray to God that shit never happens to me. That's all I got to say. I don't think you're the kind of woman that would ever do that to me or anyone.
Absolutely not.
But I mean,
You
I
can't compete in
honestly,
that aspect. You couldn't in that aspect. You couldn't compete with a woman. There was
no, that's
another man.
true.
You could compete with a man, but you couldn't compete with a woman.
Well, that's absolutely true there, Sandra. And yeah, I would file for divorce right away and 100% child custody, because to basically bring that into the household is very traumatizing to the kids. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure they were traumatized over this, and I'm sure it's going to affect them at least for a while, if not the rest of their lives. It's just very, very shitty parenting on Ruby's part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I jump in here
Yes.
for a second and ask a question?
Yeah.
When you mentioned, I think you said Sherry came home from college. So what are the kids now not in the house and they had a business?
Sherry
Was
was the
Sherry
oldest.
involved? Was Sherry in that household, or was she just away? Was she involved in any of that
I
stuff?
believe she was involved in this when she was younger, and she went off to college, and I think coming back and seeing that, she just kind of realized something is really, really wrong about this.
Yeah, she was the
So
oldest.
there was,
She had the idea something was not.
There's 8 kids. I think there's 6
Six
kids.
kids.
6 kids and 2 parents. So there's 8 people. Yeah.
Yeah,
She felt
and
something
so
wasn't right.
yeah, Sherry was already feeling like this is getting to be too much, and that's why she wanted to leave for college and
Got ya.
just to
Okay.
get away. Yeah. So, but the other
Mhm.
children were still with her at that time, right?
Okay.
Yes. Now let's
Okay.
continue here, because this was a hell of a story. When we saw this documentary on Hulu, oh wow, what a hell of a story this was. But
Made me sick, but it was a really good
yeah,
documentary.
it still makes me sick just even thinking about it and talking about it. But we got to talk about these things and help people. All right. Shortly after Ruby kicked Kevin and Chad out of the house and disowned Sherry after discovering she had tried to contact Kevin. Kevin was the husband, I
The
believe,
husband.
right? So she kicked the husband out and Chad out of the house, and then Sherry and disowned Sherry after discovering she had tried to contact Kevin. This woman, I believe she was a Mormon woman initially.
Yes.
Or I mean a woman of faith, right? And wow, this just piss poor. This is really crappy behavior. When did Ruby Franke finally get caught? Worried about her younger siblings, Sherry contacted Child Protective Services and the police. That's what I would have done if I was Sherry.
Uh-huh.
According to E! News, neighbors gathered outside when officers arrived and told them they were very concerned about the children and them being left at home alone. However, since no one answered the door and they didn't have a warrant, police could not enter the Franke home. Well, okay, for now. In August 2023, Franke's 12-year-old son escaped by climbing out a window and fled to a neighbor's home in Ivins, Utah, asking to be taken to the nearest police station. The woman told authorities she had encountered an emaciated child with tape around his legs who was hungry and thirsty. Yeah, remember that, babe?
Yeah, that was, oh
That's
my
her
God.
her
That
young
was so
her young
disturbing.
son had tape around him. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, it's horrible. Broke my heart.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Sandra?
No, I remember that. No thoughts.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Tia?
No, you can continue.
Okay. So in August 2023, Frankie's 12-year-old son escaped by claiming that. Okay, sorry, I already read that. Sorry. Court documents revealed that the boy told police Hildebrandt had tied him up and used home remedies to treat wounds caused by the restraints. Frankie's plea agreement further disclosed that her son was frequently kept bound while her 9-year-old daughter was forced to perform manual labor outside in the scorching heat without water or shoes. Both children were told they were possessed and that their punishments were meant to help them. So basically, this was like a concentration camp, like the Nazis would do to the Germans, right? Right? Like this is like a concentration camp that is just extreme, cruel, and unusual, and very unlawful here in the U.S. Well, don't you think, Don? Before we get to T and Sandra,
It should be unlawful everywhere. I mean, this abuse is not okay. It is, it may get you some more views, but people are going to catch on and they're going to start filing police reports, CPS reports, because bottom line, these people were there for these kids. That's what they care about. They didn't care about her. They wanted to make sure these kids were okay.
Right. Go ahead, Sandra.
No, I agree, Don. I agree with Don.
Okay. Anything else to add to that, or you just agree with Don?
No. Yeah, nothing else to add.
Let's move on.
Anything else to add to that, Tia?
No.
Okay. Let's continue. One hell of a story. Oh, man. When police were called, Kevin said in the docuseries that he had still been holding out hope that Ruby would let him move back home and had respected her no-contact wishes until then. He even continued attending Hildebrandt's weekly online connections men's group meeting. So this dad, wow. I mean, I'll tell you, I would have never put up with this shit. I would have never put up with this. Like, this woman was not respecting this man. I mean, no disrespect. Very nice guy, but it sounds like the dad was just too nice of a guy.
I agree somewhat with that, but I think also the dad's concern was being in that house for his children.
Right.
To make sure he had eyes on those kids. Make sure no abuse was happening,
Correct, but it's very clear and apparent that Ruby Franke wore the pants in that marriage. She was the man in the relationship and he was the woman. And that causes issues. And look what it turned into. Because he could have stopped this a long time ago. He could have jumped in and said, listen.
He could have said, no, this bitch ain't moving in here.
If you continue going down this route, we're going to end up in divorce and I'm going to call the fucking cops. Yeah. And I'm going to call CPS. And I'm going to take the kids. This man, no disrespect, he's a nice guy, but he had, and probably still has no balls. Figuratively speaking, of course. And this is why it's important for men to be able to man up. It doesn't mean you don't beat a woman. You don't even have to call her a name or anything like that. You shouldn't. But you got to stand up for your fucking self as a man nowadays. What's up?
I didn't mean to hit the mic right now when I went to scratch my head. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you can hit the mic all you want and then just move it back in place.
I didn't know if it made a noise.
I sold that mic to you for free. Even Sandra like that one. You can hit that mic. As long as you don't hit me, I don't give a shit if you hit the mic all day. It'll probably sound weird in the pot.
That's all I was saying is I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
But see, it's about I'm having playful fun with my woman. I'm a man. Like, I'm not trying to say I'm any better than her, but she expects me to be a man. If I don't have any balls, figuratively or literally, what good am I to her? That's the point we're trying to make here, is that men manning up could be preventing these issues from happening.
I agree.
Okay? That, in my opinion, was a big problem. No disrespect. This guy's a big fucking pussy. That's the problem.
Mhm.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I think it just stems back to those kind of people don't belong together, you know? And
Mhm.
he, like, to balance their personalities in the way that they are.
Mm-hmm.
And she was very much out there, and he was a little more introvert, wanted to kind of be the normal family, you know. I mean, they did some great videos of them driving in the van and going to the beach, and
Oh, it was good at first. It was innocent. It was playful. It was real. But then when she got involved with Hildebrand, that's the problem right
that's
there.
where it all went down. And I think the father didn't know what to do. They had gotten in so deep already. He didn't know how to get out of that.
Right.
And he didn't want to lose his wife. He wanted to help his wife. And he didn't want to lose his family.
He deserves better than his wife Ruby. He deserves better. He just wasn't strong enough as a man to realize that.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't want
Eh,
the confrontation because
Right.
it could get very heated. And then with that comes losing the kids, like Don says,
Mhm.
getting kicked out of the
Mhm.
house and kind of being separated from the kids. So he was, you know, I think he could
Yeah.
have taken control and then, listen, biatch, you know what I'm saying? And put your
Right.
foot down and get out of my house.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of my house. Get out of here. Thank you. No, thank you. And that's it. I mean, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at it, I mean, this poor guy too, that's what he was trying to avoid, the confrontation. Because maybe that girl, we
Yeah.
don't know his wife, maybe she could be one of those that hits and throws shit and ultimatums, all that kind of stuff. And then to lose your
Oh,
kids,
yeah.
to lose
She
contact with
could,
the kids. Oh,
I wouldn't put it past her that she would punch herself and call the cops and
or
say he
something.
did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
Yeah.
totally get it.
Wouldn't put that
Totally.
past her.
Yeah. Anything
Totally.
else you want to add to this part, Tia?
As I sit and listen to it, I think like there's got to be more to this as you go on, just because it's very weird. That's
It
I
is.
mean,
That
that's
was
pretty.
a very
yeah.
weird story. It was very
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much the whole story. This is the sentencing part here I'm going to read, but that's pretty much the whole story there. So let me get this last part, and then we'll share our thoughts and get to the second story. We're at 1 hour and 22 minutes. Not bad. Right on time for a 2-hour mark. Okay. So what were Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrand sentenced to? Ruby Franke pleaded guilty to 4 counts of child abuse and admitted to torturing her children. Wow. She said that from May 22nd through August 30th, she tortured her now 12-year-old son by forcing him to endure hours of physical tasks, including wall sits and carrying boxes full of books up and down stairs. He was also subject to outdoor labor in the summer heat without enough water and inflicted repeated and serious sunburns that blistered, according to CBS News. That's fucking insane right there. Franke claimed that she either believed or was led by Hildebrand to believe that her. Well, I actually believe that, but it doesn't matter. You aligned yourself with her, so you're not getting out of this. Trying to put all the blame on fucking Hildebrand.
Well,
You're guilty by
Hildebrand.
association.
Well, of course, but Hildebrand is the one that really truly convinced her that her children were possessed by
Right.
demonic things. And it's like, come on.
This is what they said. Franke claimed that she either believed or was led by Hildebrand to believe that her children were possessed and carried out these horrific punishments in an attempt to rid them of demons.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
see, that's where I was going. I thought that was going to be what had been happening in the house was demonic, happenings and things that they do in satanic cults. That's where I thought this was going. That's why I said, but apparently that was just in Hildebrand's head.
Yeah. She's a sick sick lady.
She could have been possessed, but yeah, not the kids.
I think Hildebrandt is mentally ill beyond repair.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. There's no hope for her.
Yeah, let's continue here. Thank you, Tia. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Don. Let's continue here. As for Hildebrandt, she also pled guilty days after Franke to 4 counts of child abuse. Her plea agreement acknowledged that she either tortured the children or was aware of the abuse. The agreement also said that Hildebrandt either physically forced or coerced Franke's daughter to jump into a cactus multiple times. A cactus with needles? That fucking hurts. Holy shit. I didn't even hear about that on the show.
Oh my God.
No, they didn't say that on the show.
Cactus? Oh my God. Imagine you being a man and you jump on a cactus naked with your balls. Like you're dead. Like you're done. You're going to bleed out.
Yeah, that's oh my God.
Let's continue here, and then we'll share our thoughts. This is almost done here. In 2024, Franke was sentenced to 4 consecutive sentences of 1 to 15 years in prison. Meanwhile, Hildebrandt was also sentenced to 4 consecutive terms of 1 to 15 years. So basically, they're getting 4 to 60 years. I bet you within 10 years or so or less, they'll be out on parole, both of them. What do you think, Don? And then we'll go to the ladies.
Yeah, I think they probably would be out on parole within 10 years. Do I think it's right? Hell no. I think they should be there for life and be in a box, sleeping on the floor. Not even a freaking bean bag. They need to be kept in a cell.
An insane asylum?
Well, no, I'm just saying they need to be locked up like they locked their children up, and to endure what they did to their children. That's the ultimate punishment. Like, talk about an eye for an eye.
Yeah, I think the punishment should have been at least 10 years. I should have probably been like, I don't know if a life sentence is the right sentence for this. I'll tell you why. Because people can reform and accept responsibility, and if you're in jail 10 to 20 to 30 years, at least you're gonna have an opportunity to reform yourself and come back and publicly apologize and do the right thing. I think they're trying to give her a chance to reform. I know you don't feel she deserves that, and maybe I don't feel that, but that's, I think, what the law sees.
Well, and they're trying to help her, which is the ultimate thing. We all want to help and we want to make sure people are okay. So bottom line, whatever she's done, you got to forget and just try to help her,
Right.
And that's really hard for us humans to do. But, that's why there's a couple really special humans out there to deal with that.
Right. Let's get to Sandra, and then we'll go to Tia after that, and then we'll wrap this one up.
Yeah, how old, like when she went to jail, how old were the kids?
Well, okay, so when Sherry came back from college, that was when?
Well, she must have been 4 years, 22, 23 years old. The rest of the kids, I think most of them were still under 18. So
I think now, like maybe half of them. I mean, he could look it up right now to see the ages. But
so
yeah,
they were still minors. So the husband had the kids, right?
He took the boy Chad, and the oldest daughter went off to school. And when Ruby disowned her for calling her father, her daughter was just like, cool. She's like, I don't even want to be a part of it. She calls her Ruby. She doesn't call her mom. She's just another person walking down the street.
Yeah. And as far as her sentencing, this is the thing too. Sometimes people don't get is that different states have different laws too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
what might be in, for anything, some of these murder cases I see, I'm like, what? only 10 years? Well, in that state, for whatever crime it is only 10 years. In another
Right.
state, it might be
Right.
higher. So we're looking at
Yeah,
that. I'm sure I got to look into the case. Maybe he did give her the highest, maybe he did. And that's as far as he could go. I'd be
Yeah.
interested to see, but I'm glad that they also got the influencer, I'm going to say, because, when you look at things, sometimes it's more of a, well, she didn't have to do it. I could,
hmm
but things
Yeah.
like that are changing now too, because the case of the
Yeah.
one girl that told her boyfriend to commit suicide, and they're like, well,
Right.
Oh
she
my,
didn't force him, she didn't, but he did, and then she got
but he
charged. So
did.
things are kind of changing that way now too. So, she was a big influence, but then, we look at common sense, and either you're so wrapped up in stuff, or you
hmm
just lose sight of everything. And if they were having a relationship too, then, she's going to do whatever that lady tells her to. She has more of an influence on her in that aspect,
Right.
So
hmm
then you got to look at that too. So, was that Hildebrand or whatever more diabolical and telling her to do all that stuff and getting
Oh,
off on that
Yeah.
shit
absolutely.
too?
Oh, hell yeah.
So
Yep.
She did get off
here
on
we
it.
go with all that shit too? So
Yep.
see how this stuff bleeds in. It's really interesting,
Yeah,
to see.
they say that men control the world and they're all
Men
controlling.
rule the world.
Huh?
Are you saying men rule the world?
No, I'm saying
They
that's
say
what
that.
people say in general,
Right.
okay?
Right.
Yeah.
But really, honestly, ladies, we lead the house. Like we take control, and that can get to your head once you start getting up there and you're getting views on how you're parenting. And unfortunately, the videos of her just having fun with her kids weren't, it wasn't enough. She needed to
Uh-huh.
go to that next level to bring the people in more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Hildebrandt was telling her that she basically had to do.
She had to amp it up.
She had to amp it up,
Yep.
turn up the heat.
Turn
And
up the heat.
that is just,
Get that
it's
crazy
toxic.
conflict going for the crazy conflict clicks to come in for the drama. Yeah, I hear you. I get it. Tia,
Dang,
anything
that's
else you want to add
point.
so far? Or
Well, I just want to say that when the daughter saw the bedroom and there was candles and it was odd or eerie, there's still, my gut feeling, in my opinion, is that they're just that Hildebrandt had to have some like I don't want to. It could be partly brainwashing or something over this Ruby, because no mother would just do this to their kids for punishment. It doesn't make sense. And as far
right,
as sentencing, I would imagine the sentence was not like it should be, because prisons are so overcrowded. And if you keep a person in prison too long, then they become institutionalized and you have another problem. So
correct.
they got to weigh that out too.
Uh-huh. The prison
But
system is overloaded enough as it
yeah,
is, which is what you're saying. It's costing us enough money, uh, and we have other problems with our deficit here in the U.S. So yeah, it creates a big shit show for everything. So go ahead, babe.
I need a high five.
Oh, high five for what?
Giants just won.
Just one.
Just won.
Oh, the Giants just won on this day that we're recording this on Sunday, May 4th, 2025, and it's going to be released throughout the entire podcast network on Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. All right, so let me read this last part here. Let's go back to the browser screen here. Ruby Franke wants to take responsibility for the harm she has caused her children and to her entire family. She knows that by pleading guilty and accepting the punishment, she's taking a step in the right direction to be accountable for her actions, Franke's attorney said in a statement to ABC News. I don't think her kids are ever going to forgive her for this, and they probably
No.
shouldn't. I mean, this is just, I think they're going to disown her. What do you think, Don?
Absolutely. And I know we've talked in the past about unconditional love with your child. Well, we could say most mothers have unconditional love for their children. But, you know, there's got to be the psychopaths and, all of that in this world to make it interesting. And there's just a small percentage of these moms that are like this. We are fortunate to have a majority of well-minded individuals having children,
Okay. Anything else?
No.
All right.
But before we start the next story,
Well, there's one last part too.
Oh.
You have to go use.
But I can wait the last part. Let's go.
Well, let me just go do that. Why don't you go ahead and go right now?
Okay.
And then I'll get the ladies' responses. Ladies, go ahead. What is your response to that last part that Don responded to?
I think I said what I needed to say on that. I think I did respond. Yeah.
Yeah, about the prison part, I responded. I would just go on reading if that.
Yeah, regarding the part that she's accepted responsibility. She wants to take responsibility for her actions and all that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's
okay. That's okay.
I feel that it would be very hard for those kids to forgive, although there's other stories like this and kids do forgive after a while. My thing is always, you can forgive, but you can never forget. They're traumatized for life, and that's pretty much my thought.
Okay. All right. Did you want to add anything else, Sandra, regarding that, or you're good?
No, I'm good.
Okay, let's continue with the last part here because Don already knows this. Let's see here. Kevin filed for divorce from Ruby in late 2023. A few months after her and Hildebrandt's arrest, he has not been charged with any crimes and insists he was unaware of the abuse. And I believe him. He told Today.com that listening to Ruby's testimony in court felt like getting stabbed. Of course, your wife just screwed you and your entire family over, dude. Because I believe it, and I do still love her, he said, but that doesn't mean that I'm not as angry as I can be at her. I don't want to be hurt and abused by her anymore. And so it is a painful decision to say, no, I love you, and I love you enough to walk away from you and to leave you so you can get the help that you need. I mean, I've got to say, ladies, that I respect that guy. He should have actually done this long before this happened.
Yeah.
He spoke up, and I think he learned his lesson afterwards, and became a stronger man because of this. Because an already strong man would have stopped this dead in its tracks. Like, first of all, Sandra, what are your thoughts? And we'll get Tia's.
What do you mean?
Regarding, what I just mentioned, the husband divorced her and is basically standing up for himself after the fact because he wasn't strong enough initially. I think he learned his lesson through this whole experience, and it made him a better and stronger man. Had he already been that better and stronger man before this happened, he would have been able to stop it dead in his tracks, right?
Yeah, that's true. But I have to go back to the thing where I think he was kind of afraid of the repercussions. So now that she's locked up, she can't do anything to him, be it threaten him with anything, divorce or no, you can't see the kids anymore or anything. So it's easy for him to go ahead and make that break and divorce her like he should have, so that's how I feel about that.
Okay, fantastic. We were just talking about, welcome back, Don, when Ruby's husband, Kevin, divorced her.
Mm-hmm.
And this was shortly after the arrest. And basically, he finally started standing up for himself because I think he learned his lesson throughout all this to stand up for himself and made him a stronger man. Whereas if he was already a stronger man while this was happening and before meeting Ruby, he would have been able to stop this dead in its tracks. He would not have been afraid. And I understand Sandra's probably saying maybe this woman could have murdered him. Who knows, right?
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe he didn't feel like he was strong enough to do this, and he didn't have a lot of support at first. And maybe after time, he gained the support from friends, family, that he felt the confidence to do this, knowing he was going to have the support. And I think that's a big thing too. It's a big, scary leap to do that, not knowing how other people are going to react to what you do. So I think it's better that he did lay back a little bit to gather what he needed to be strong for those kids.
Yeah.
You know, that's just my opinion.
No.
I feel bad
Well
for the
said.
man.
Anything else, Sandra or Tia, or ready to move forward to the next one here? This is going to be quick. We're at 1 hour and 41 minutes. This is only going to be about 20 more minutes.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
No.
God. That other one's going to take a long. That other one has a lot to cover. We could do a
Well,
part
we're not gonna go through the whole thing. We'll mention a few parts and then we can always do a part 2. But we're just gonna speak about the basic stuff. On
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and
Let's
just
start that one.
get right to that. So. Okay, from NBC News here. Let's see. YouTube mom's child abuse scandal ends in 1.85 million settlement. Tiffany Smith, the mother of YouTube star Piper Raquel, was sued in 2022 by 11 teen content creators who alleged she abused them emotionally, physically, and sexually. A years-long case involving the mother of a popular YouTube star and 11 teen content creators who accused her of abuse and exploitation came to an end Tuesday after the parties reached a 1.85 million settlement, according to attorneys for the plaintiffs. Tiffany Smith was sued in January 2022 by the group of teenagers who were regularly featured on her daughter Piper Raquel's popular YouTube channel, which at the time had 8.85 million followers. We call them subscribers on YouTube. The creators alleged that Smith, 43, intentionally inflicted emotional distress. She did. While she held a position of care and control over them, care, custody, and control. That's what it should be. Over them in the production of content for Raquel's YouTube channel. Well, maybe not custody. They're talking about the video, so I got that wrong. So care and control is actually the right way to put it. Care and control over them in the production of content for Raquel's YouTube channel. They said they endured physical and emotional injuries from harassment, molestation, and abuse, according to the complaint. So we're not going to get into this whole thing, but basically, what ended up happening was, this woman, Tiffany, her daughter gained popularity on YouTube between, her and her mother creating some videos. And then they decided to further expand and commercialize the business and get more of her friends and more kids involved.
Yeah.
They ended up buying a very expensive house and allowed the people that were working the channel with them to live there. I'm sure there was some kind of contract. They get free rent as long as they do the work. And I don't know if they were getting paid a salary or not, but they were getting at least free rent and food and other stuff. So they were getting something. I don't know exactly what the deal was. The problem was they were working, let me go back.
Obnoxious.
They were working long hours.
Obnoxiously
13-hour days. The kids were tired. It was affecting their schooling. It was affecting
social life.
Them just being, kids at that age, right?
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot of weird stuff going on. They were just pushing the boundaries. This was the case where Dawn, she was having her daughter and other girls, young girls, wear bikinis on the set, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I guess technically is not considered kiddie porn, but it could be looked at as an indecent exposure type of thing.
Well, yeah, like, are you having her pose in certain positions?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the line is drawn.
She was having her own daughter and other ladies and the boys, pose in a sexual
in a
way.
promiscuous way.
She was having the under 18-year-olds, the boy and a boy and a girl, pretend to be in a relationship and then show them like making out and stuff.
Oh yeah, they did like the whole hashtag with the two names combined and made it a big thing for the online watchers. Every day they wanted to tune in and see what was one of the names. I can't remember.
Who?
Remember the kids that got together? How they brought their two names together, right, Sandra? You remember that?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
It became
their two names. Yeah, it was a thing back then too.
Yeah, it was a big thing back then. So
they combined their name, for
like
the
Ben,
relationship.
like Ben Lowe. How when they did the thing with Ben Affleck and J Lo, Bennifer.
Yeah,
remember?
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Some cutesy wootsy
promotional
shit,
you'd be
right?
Elon. You guys would be Elon.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Elon.
I don't like that at all.
Elon.
Woo, that wouldn't fly.
That hurt. You know what, Sandra? That hurt.
Oh, wow.
Oh, shame on you, Sandra. Ooh.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah,
that was really
you,
funny, though.
Shame on you.
For shame.
We needed some laughter. We needed laughter.
Yeah. So basically,
anyway,
that's the gist of the story there. And, they were, Tiffany was sued for $1.85 million. At one point, they were making $500,000 a month from YouTube ad revenue, not alone, but they also had a lot of brand deals. And you see, this was all happening, I believe, before the Child Online Privacy Protection Act, COPPA, was enacted. And I believe COPPA, when was enacted? And COPPA was enacted, originally it became effective in 2000. It was already around, but COPPA actually what happened was COPPA fined YouTube. When did COPPA fine YouTube? And that was like 3 years ago, if I remember correctly. YouTube was fined $170 million by the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, in September 2019 for violating the Child Online Privacy Protection Act, COPPA, by collecting personal information from minors under 13. Now, what YouTube has done, in addition to that, is any content that's made for kids is automatically demonetized. And there are no more brand deals involving that. And I don't know if these two particular cases we've been talking about had anything to do with that, but it is much more difficult now to exploit your kids on YouTube. And I remember back in those days, everyone was fearing, well, what's going to happen with YouTube? I mean, a lot of people that were making content for kids, that were making a lot of money, they were out of business. They were really, really ticked off. But I think it was a very, very good thing. And I wanted to mention that as well. But, what are your thoughts about this particular situation? A $1.85 million settlement. And then she never went to jail and is still not in jail. She was somewhat held civilly responsible for this. 1.85 million.
Hence the settlement.
Split amongst 11
11 people.
11 people. Like, let's just do the math. Okay. Let's do the math. 1,850,000 divided by 11. That's $168,000 each. Okay?
Before taxes.
Before taxes. And so you're probably looking at about 100K or so, or 90 to 100K after taxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's nothing.
That's
That is
nothing compared to
nothing.
making $500,000 a month
Right.
during that time, probably having it reinvested. You bought a new house. That house probably has a lot more equity in it now. Tiffany made out big, exploiting kids, and got away with it. And all she had to do was pay just under $2 million out of the probably 10 plus million she has. Like, if I look at, before we get to the ladies, and I'm going to ask you first, Don, if I look at Tiffany Smith net worth, YouTube net worth, okay, is around $6 million.
Damn.
So she is worth $6 million after doing all this, settling a case, no criminal charges filed. If she's smart, she can take that money and reinvest it and live like a queen for the rest of her life. Now, let's see what she does. I don't agree with anything she's done. I think she's a piece of shit like the first one, right? Like Ruby Franke. But what are your thoughts, Don? Share your thoughts about this, and we're going to go Sandra and Tia, then we'll do final thoughts.
Where do I get started? My gosh. There is something that is wrong on a different level than the previous story. I feel when this woman was putting these children up to be in relationships and show like them going for a kiss or something else that's sexual, that's not normal. That's not normal. And these kids didn't have these feelings for their friends, so you're confusing them. And that's sick.
Yep.
Because you're not going for the right audience. You're going for those frickin', sex offenders, the pedophiles, people that, live for looking at little girls. And, I would never, ever put my child or any of my friends' children, I would never encourage anything like that. And I know Sandra and Tia would never, ever, I can speak on that and say they would never do this to a child, whether it's their own or somebody else's. So that's where I'm like, I have a hard time wrapping my head around how this woman didn't see all of the destruction she was causing. Now these poor kids.
I think she saw it, but I think she
didn't
said
care
to herself that I'll put up with the repercussions to make the money. And then now that she has the money and she hasn't had criminal charges filed and settled fairly cheaply this lawsuit, right? Now she can do whatever she wants with that money, right? She's got the money now and she's pretty much in the clear, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Where was I? I was talking about what she was doing.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to go on to the long-term effects. Now,
Yes.
these children, I hope to hell and I believe their mothers all got their kids into therapy. And so that they could process this and learn how to cope in the future. These kids are going to struggle with so many problems of
Traumatized.
Well, yeah, they're traumatized. It's going to be self-confidence, self-worth. This woman went as far as when they didn't agree or they did something wrong, she totally erased them from YouTube. She made everybody hate those kids. Nobody subbed them. They just, basically disappeared. And if anybody crossed this woman, that's what she would do. She would cyber kill you. And I mean, I know a couple adults out here that are trying to do that all over the YouTube spectrum here. I think YouTube court cases are stupid. I really do. But I know they're necessary at times. But this definitely was a necessary time. Absolutely.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Anything else before we get to...
No, go ahead. Go on.
All right, Sandra, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, but they were making content no matter what on any level. They didn't care as long as the content was there. So the thing was, they had this guy. I'm too bad that we're not giving this as much coverage as the other one, because this
Well, we
one
can do another
has a
show
lot
down
of
the road, but
yeah.
we don't want
This
to go
one
into a
is
4-hour
this
show.
one because I understand that, but this one has so much and goes into so many other things and stuff. But the thing is, it was all about content. So did she care? At a certain extent, no, she didn't care. They were making money, and it was whatever sells. Now she had this man. I can't remember his name. Mr. Hill. I know
Daniel.
his last name was. What's his name?
Was his name
What
Daniel Hill?
was it?
I do
Daniel.
not remember.
I
Oh,
don't have
you're talking about the guy she was working with.
the film
What's his
guy.
name?
I
Yeah,
think it was
Hill.
Daniel.
Okay, so Mr. Hill, she had him, and she hired him, and so what he was doing was doing the videos, editing the videos, etc. And he was the one coming up with a lot of the ideas as well. And if you look
Oh
at
yeah.
this film, he's telling them what to do, what to say, all that. And then he was going with the trends, like the trends with doing the names together, like
Yeah.
Elon.
hmm
Doing
We could figure out another one to go reference to. Go back to
I
Venmo.
love that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, that, and then there was the big and all he still had a shot at him, and like none of
Sandra,
these people
Sandra,
didn't
Sandra,
even know each other like that. Huh?
Sandra, you just cut out for the last maybe 10 seconds. Can you say what you were saying again real quick, please?
You were crackling a little bit.
Oh, yeah. You know why? Because my phone is hot. My phone is real hot.
Oh, okay.
Let's see what I say. So you know how you have crushes. That was a big thing too.
Mm.
So then he was getting these kids to have crushes on each other, and they were at that age
Mhm.
where like a kissing, right? They haven't even had their first kiss or anything like that, let alone
Mm-hmm.
have a crush on really anyone. So these kids were in those situations where their minds too were like, "Are you're talking?" One of the girls had started. She said, I think it was the cousin that was 9 or 10 old. Okay, she was also in that interview. So you're playing with, like, there's emotions when you're preteen, when you're at that thing where you're challenging your parents, and you're gossiping with friends, and she's my friend and she's not her friend. All those kind of emotions that they're all dealing with. Even with the girls starting, their hormones are changing and things like that.
Well, yeah,
So
and
when they're
these
put in these
girls were
kind of
best
situations,
friends. Yeah, these girls were
well,
best
yeah, the
friends.
But now listen, look at this poor girl though, because the thing was, the mom says, "Oh, okay, well, we could do one. Well, it'd be neat if we had a squad." So they bringing all these other people in, and then they would grow, like they interviewed, I think, three of the girls. They were like, "She was my best friend," and then out they go because whatever happened. And this little Piper girl, she had a lot of turmoil going on. Here she is. Her mom kicks out her best friend. Here comes other people. They
Yeah.
make friends. I mean, this little girl went through a lot. I'd like to know what her net worth is right now. She's a beautiful girl. She was always a cute little thing, but
Like,
I'm wondering on whether the mother had the net worth, but I wonder too what the daughter had.
look
And
that up, Eli.
even the daughter being older and thinking, well, gee, mom, we made all this money. Where's my money? I mean, it's almost like the cousin
Yeah.
thing, when for the actor. I mean, at a point, wouldn't she say, hey, I want to know what my mom did with my money. Now, was it her
hmm
money, even though her mom was running the show? The mom could say, I hired this, I got you guys clothes, I got this.
Yep.
On the other hand,
Yep.
they had
Her net
endorsements
worth,
coming in. They were a
Piper Raquel's net
monetized
worth,
channel. And
Piper Raquel's net worth is $4 million alone. So
Okay.
the daughter is
See?
worth 4 million. The mother is worth 6 million. So it seems like it's kind of almost equal. So I guess I can say that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she could do it on her own. Now, look at this. She could do it on
Now?
her own now, right? Because she's, I think,
Well, she's old
17
enough
or
now.
18 right now.
Yeah.
So she could
But
exactly. So now what's
but she's
going to
traumatized. She
happen
doesn't
Yeah.
want
now
to.
with all that? Well,
Yeah.
yeah, part of that is true, but she could do other content, I'm sure, and she doesn't have to be doing all that. Anyway, I don't get off topic because it was really interesting. I was doing some research on that stuff too. That even the laws that were saying there's certain laws that aren't even, everything is in infancy with the internet
Mm-hmm.
laws, what you
Uh-huh.
can do, where the lines
Yeah.
go, a lot of emotional stuff. I was reading somewhere where parents are even trying to bring lawsuits against these gaming companies because their kids are on all the time, and I'm like,
Yep.
so what part is it of the parent? However, yeah, the parent has a certain responsibility, but
Mm-hmm.
what do you do with the kid doing behind closed doors? Don't those other people, shouldn't they be responsible too? Just like you have child porn, okay, but so
Yeah.
your husband watches it, right? Okay, so he gets
Mm.
arrested, but shouldn't those other people be responsible too, the people putting it out? So you see, it's everything just kind of
Absolutely.
stems, and I know they have laws, and again, they sometimes they're not, how do you say, enforced because they're so loose. They're just kind of like putting just a little round band-aid on a cut that's like 4 inches long. So even
Mm-hmm.
Newsom did, I don't know if you knew that, Eli, he put that thing with, kind of like protecting the kids on the internet, that kind of a
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
for monetary. And there's like I think 3 states that have done that. And even then they say, okay, it's a start, but it's not a solid start,
No.
with this
But
because
here's the
the
thing,
kids
Sandra.
shouldn't go to school.
How far can we restrict things to the point of where even adults can't use something? If we restrict things to try to protect kids, then you're restricting adults on something that they would normally have the right to use or do. And so you got to find a fine balance. I think you have to put most of the responsibility on the parents, and then you have to put some of the responsibility on the government and these social media platforms or phone apps. And remember, these parents are buying their kids smartphones before they're even teenagers nowadays, so that's their responsibility. You can try to lock the phone down and try to lock down all the inappropriate content, but if not, they're going to go elsewhere and find it anyway. The bottom line is
And in
kids are going to
reality,
find a workaround.
the
True.
kids will they
They'll
are
circumvent.
well, not only
They will
that,
circumvent.
that's not what I'm trying to say.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying that they're very, very smart in the techie stuff. And
Yeah,
whatever
tech
we
world.
could do to block them, they're going to find a way to unblock it. So,
It's
it's a
true, but we talk about like censorship. Yeah, you can't. There's always fine lines anywhere. But it reminds me of okay, for instance, right? You got a guy that's going to rob your house, right? He gets up on
mhm,
the roof, he goes through your roof, and he sues your ass for
'cause he
a roof
falls.
that's not stable, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, we all have heard those kind of stories. So then here we go again. Well, had he had the roof and it was pristine, the damn guy that was trying to illegally come in wouldn't have fallen. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So it's that. How far back do you go, with things? And you don't, censorship, you don't want to censor certain things, but here we go. When you have stuff like that, like I'm gonna go back to and I hate to say it, but going back to like the beauty pageants with the kids, you got a lot of pedos that look at that shit. They're with their,
Yep.
oh my gosh, and so when you catch the guy with that, who do you blame? Yeah, he's a weirdo and shit, but he's just getting stuff that's out
Publicly.
there, quote, legally, unquote, and is out there.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Yep.
that it is, and the same thing with these kids that they were talking about too, is that these kids, they're like, do you know that the majority of the people that are watching these teenagers are older men? And did you catch the part about the daughter, the one girl? She was in tears telling the story when the mother, what was her name? Tiffany? Was that her
Yeah.
name? What's the mother's name? When she had a pair of her daughter's underwear, and the
Oh,
girl
yeah.
says,
Oh,
"What are you doing? What are you doing with the underwear?" She goes, "Old men like to smell them." And she was mailing those underwear
Tiffany Smith.
to someone. And
Yeah.
then
Tiff.
yeah.
the little girl had this guy. Remember, they called it Megan, and they thought it was a girl, and it ended up being a man. Was sending that little girl stuff, try to get the other girls, and then even bought the mom Gucci bags. I think it was
Yeah.
that the Prada
Yeah.
Gucci or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
bam, ba 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 ba. This is an interesting. This could be a show. This is a very interesting subject because I could go on. I did the research on it. I was looking at it. I was writing notes, and I found it to be very interesting and disturbing, all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. I'm thinking is like next month we'll do a part two on this, and we will go into more detail regarding this. I think that would be great because there is a lot more to go in. Or more to go into, which is what I'm trying to say. It's just right now we'd be here another 2 to 3 hours, and that would be too long of a show. And
I know.
it is Sunday, and we want to all enjoy the day of rest. Plus, I plan on walking in a little bit too. So, but anything else, Sandra, before we get to Tia? Or
Well, you know me. Go ahead.
oh, okay.
I just had to
Anything you
get
want to
that in
mention?
because to me, I know I had to get that in because it is an important subject, and I just thought too bad. The other one was important too. Don't get me wrong, but we were
Okay.
talking about the exploitation, and this one really had a lot of it in it, and it's a really good. That is a really good topic. So that's all.
Yeah,
I'm done.
we're gonna definitely do a part two. Is there anything else you want to mention regarding this particular aspect, Tia, or should we get right into final thoughts? Go ahead.
Um, I think we can do final thoughts. A lot has been said about, what we just talked about. So yeah, let's go into final thoughts.
Okay, then we'll start our final thoughts with you, Tia, and then we'll go to Sandra, and then I will go ahead and put you ladies backstage. You can leave anytime, and Don and I will finish up the show um, with you ladies either backstage, or you can just go if you'd like. But go ahead. What are your final thoughts, Tia?
Well, first of all, yeah, I have to agree. It's a very interesting topic. It's a tragic topic. The one thing that, unless I missed it, why were not the mothers of these children in the time that they were with, I can't think of her name,
Tiffany.
Tiffany?
Tiffany Smith.
Um, yeah. I mean, didn't they have an inkling of what was happening, even though they were living in a house?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody.
The mothers started to come together and question things between each other.
But how?
To be
But
like,
how long
is
did
this
that
happening?
take?
I
A
would
long
say
time.
it took a long time. It took too long
See, that's
for
what
them to do that.
So I have to blame the mothers on some of this
Yep.
because I would never let my daughter or son just at those ages, so yeah, Tiffany is a dirtbag, but these mothers that, they were, oh, and then they're crying, and I really didn't have a lot of sympathy for them. I didn't.
Same.
Um, they're traumatized. It's a tragic thing, and I did catch, and I think I found it to be important, and it's not surprising. It was 92 or 93% of the viewers of those shows were older men, and that
Hmm.
just made me sick. It
Sick.
really did. It,
Yep.
it just about
Good point.
nauseated me. It did.
Yeah.
And Tiffany is the cause, yes, but the
Yep.
mothers, I have uh, not a lot of sympathy for. They should have caught on a lot sooner. I would have. I know I would have. But anyway, basically,
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
just don't
it's
know.
just,
I don't know if the kids just weren't complaining about it. The mothers were
Mhm.
kind of seeing it, but the kids are saying,
Mhm.
no, it's fine. Then
Mhm.
they might have dismissed it at first until they really saw it getting out of
Yeah.
control.
Right.
You know,
I,
I think
I
these
think that
mothers had all the
you're right.
best intentions.
oh, I
Yeah.
don't doubt that. But I would have been, because of my suspicions and trust, I would have been a little more proactive. You know, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
I just know myself,
Yeah.
So, I don't want to take back what I said. I still say that they should have done a little more, at least sooner than they did.
Yeah.
But
I think at first it started like one mom would talk to one other mom and express her concerns. And then
hmm
like that mom would kind of sit and watch and see if she sees that behavior and then react to that and talk to another mom and be like, okay, the two of us have seen this happening. What, you know, I don't know if they did it that way, but, I just think that would be a good way to get everybody together just with all the proof and
Sounds
the
like you're
clear.
sharing your final thoughts right now too, huh,
Oh,
Rick?
I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You
Finish,
can.
finish.
Tia, any other final thoughts before we go to Sandra?
no, that was it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here, Tia. Hang on before you go, Sandra. Go ahead and share your final thoughts, please.
Yeah, so some of that stuff was going on behind closed doors too. If you notice that toward the end, the girls were like, this happened, or the lady seemed to have been rubbing her hands and stuff all over these girls' bodies, and these girls were just shocked. It's kind of like, what do
Right.
you do? Like when the deer hit me, what do I do? You know,
Yeah.
you have a
Right.
sense of
Right.
shock. That is very personal. Someone coming at you when you're that age, and you maybe have never even been touched like that. You know, and then it happens, and
Well,
you're like, was it an accident? Okay, and then it happens again, and the one girl ran out of the room. Now, too, you got to look at it this way too. It's like in anything, you don't want to make waves because you don't want to lose a job, right? You don't want to make waves
mhm.
because you don't want to be kicked out of the squad. You like what you're doing,
Right.
etc. Now, as far as the thing with the mothers, though, the red flags, and the one mother was crying because she says, I wanted to go and see what they were doing, and she wouldn't let us in. They had to go. They could be on the premises, but they had to be in another room. They had to be in a room
See,
where they
that's a
couldn't see
red
what was going
flag
on.
right there. That
Well,
would
Yeah.
have been a red. I would have went
exactly.
right in.
Exactly, and that one lady said, "That should have been my red flag," and she's the one crying all over the place, and, it'd be like, "It's me? If it was like my niece and she was like, 15, bullshit, no, I'm gonna see what the
Right,
hell's happening with my niece." But then here's the lady would be threatening them. "Well, why do you wanna come in? Well, why do you think?" I mean, so,
Right.
it's that holding people hold things over other people's heads. And if you don't do this, kind of like a blackmail thing. They got a good thing going. They got all these followers. Those kids have their own little site. They're making, a little bit, not as much as that, a little bit of money on the side as well. They're getting popularity. They like the notoriety. They like all that stuff. So they ain't going to do
Right.
anything to buck it. Even the
yeah,
moms ain't going to do anything to buck it. There was that one mom, though, she was divorced, and her husband, she didn't want him. She had the son, and she didn't want the son in that environment anymore. He was supposed to
Mhm.
be in the whatever, and so the father wanted him to. Which, see, here's the switch. The father said it was okay, and then when the mother the mother wanted custody, and she was saying, no, you're not going to do it. So he fought the mother, and he's like, I'm going to do it anyway. Now I want to go live with my dad,
Right.
and the kid was old enough.
Right.
So you see, so there you
hmm
go. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, red flags all over the place with that. And when They should have said something like we say we blame the moms, and the underlying thing though, yes, you know, but the thing is that that lady was at fault too. That lady was the one doing all this
Oh,
stuff
Right.
yeah.
to the kids. And the kiss, she
Yeah.
kissed that boy. Did you see that
Mm-hmm.
one?
Mhm.
Where she
Yep.
grabbed him
Yep.
and gave
Oh
him
yeah.
a down, and he did you see his look was like, and then the daughter was the one that pushed the mom away. I don't know if you saw that
Yeah.
part. I had to go
Mhm.
back and look because I said, "Who pushed her away?" So even that
Yeah.
daughter knew that, "The hell you doing, mom?" So
Yeah.
anyway, those are my
Yeah.
final thought on
Yeah.
that. I could go on, but yeah.
She kissed the underage boy.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah.
That was
Uh-huh.
yeah. That was
I think that was Spencer that she kissed.
wow. Never got charged for it. Got off pretty much scot free. It just cost her 1.85 measly million out of the 6 million she has, and the 4 million her
Yeah.
daughter has. $10 million. Wow. Anyway, um, Sandra, thank you so much for your thoughts, and Tia and Sandra, thank you so much for being here. We will do a part 2 of this in the next month. Um, and we'll go into further
Yeah, that'd be good.
detail because like Sandra said. Yeah, there's a lot more detail in this case. We pretty much went over the gist of it, but there's more. There are more specifics to get into. So, thank you very much, ladies. We're going to put you backstage, and
Thank you, ladies.
yeah, we love you and
You're
we
You're welcome.
appreciate
welcome.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much. All right, let's put them backstage right now, and let's go back to full screen. Now, did you have anything else you wanted to mention regarding your final thoughts, babe?
I just want to say, this is a very serious thing that's happening. And one of the things that I've really lived by is if you see something, say something. If you feel in your core something is not right, say something.
Yep.
Don't dismiss it because you don't know that person or what. You could see something out, at a Starbucks and be like, you know what? My mom is really inappropriate. And, you should say something at that point. Other than that, that's how we as a community can help these children, to not fall victim of this kind of exploitation and, control. These poor children are gonna go through so many trials and tribulations while they are becoming adults.
Right.
They're going to be dealing with I become a legit adult when I was being treated as one as a child and didn't know how to handle it. It's a very serious subject and something we felt at the GNA we needed to talk about.
Right. Right.
We knew about it, but we didn't know how extensive it was and how many. We haven't even talked about the other cases that aren't big news lines, So yeah, very, very interesting topic, very informative. And I am looking forward to that part 2. I really am.
Well, thank you, baby. To share my final thoughts here, the one part that we didn't mention, we will go into this next month, much more deeper into it, but was the fact that, Tiffany's daughter, Piper, was the star. And when while any of those kids were a part of the squad, like Sandra mentioned, they called it the squad, on their channel. Their own individual YouTube channels were getting a lot of hits. And once they were removed from the squad, their YouTube analytics tanked. And I think that's what upset
Tiffany.
these mothers. See,
the mothers.
If we're going to be fair here, I think all of the mothers that sued for intentional infliction of emotional distress were okay with things initially. But I don't think they realized how being connected to one very influential YouTube star. In this case, it's a kid. That's why they call it kidfluence, right? Right. Once you are either removed from that star, or you remove yourself or go your own separate way, it could have, it could basically cost you all your clout and your traction.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they sued for intentional infliction of emotional distress, because that's all they could sue for. And that actually was happening. There was a lot of crazy things happening. If none of that crazy stuff happened, in this particular case here, they would not have had a case, in my opinion, because what this boils down to is that Tiffany's daughter, Piper, is the popular one out of all of them. According to what people wanted on YouTube, other kids, other people in general that watch YouTube, they wanted to see Piper on there. She was the star. She had the value. It would be like me getting a shout out on Mr. Beast's YouTube channel, right? With, tons and tons, hundreds of millions of subscribers. And, I could probably get 1 million subs off of that. And people might come over here and watch me a little bit, or if I say nice things about Mr. Beast or collaborate with him. But, once I stop collaborating with them, or if I say anything negative about him, I could have 1 million subscribers on my channel and still only get maybe 100 or 200 views, right? So, there's a lot of truth to having a big influencer tied in with your content or what you're trying to create on the internet. And, that's just the way it goes.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thought there. I think that if there was none of that weird stuff going on behind the scenes, and the pressure of working those long days and all that, I think they all got a pretty fair shake. They had a free place to live in. They had free food. They were in Hollywood. They were in the best area to create any type of content. They were getting exposure down there from Hollywood people. So, yeah, had it not been for that weird stuff where Tiffany started pushing the boundaries to try to keep the video rankings higher, I don't even think she would have, I don't think they would have sued her. And even if they did, they wouldn't have won because there would have been no case. So anyway, that's all, baby. Are you ready to start wrapping things up?
Let's wrap it.
All right. So let's start to wrap things up. Oops, that's the wrong song.
What happened there, baby?
Baby, I just made an error.
That never happens.
Well,
I'm surprised.
Anyway, let's try again. Here we go. Let's try this one more time. There we go. All right. You've been listening to the Don and Eli Take on the World podcast, episode number 7. We discuss parents using their children for profit online. Now, to remind you folks, if you are here watching this on the audio only version throughout the audio podcast networks such as Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, also your favorite baby, iHeartRadio, and the rest of the unknown audio only podcast networks. If you're there, you can go below the description of that audio only podcast, and you can actually link to view the YouTube video version of the same podcast of this particular episode or any other episode that you may be listening to throughout the podcast network. That'll take you to our channel, GNA Genuine Live. That'll take us to our main channel, or take you to our main channel, GNA Genuine Personal Development. That's what I'm trying to say. While you're there, subscribe, bang the bell, select the notifications. Also, go below in that description, and you'll see the link to our secondary live streaming channel, GNA2 Genuine Live Personal Development. And when you go over there, make sure to subscribe, bang the bell, select the notifications, and then you can follow us where we do our regular live streams. So yeah, that is that, baby. Another great show, 7 in the books, and that's gonna do it. With that being said, have a good one.
And
Take care, and what, baby?
as always,
As always, be good to each other.